In this lecture, we are going to discuss PYQs of Idealist approach to study IR. So, why we do this PYQ deconstruction? You must understand it every single time because it is going to consolidate the idea into your mind. Fine. So, why? The first thing is it is going to help us to understand the various themes and concepts which are intervened. Okay. So, it is going to give you that what is supposed to study, what are the concepts which you should be knowing. So how much conceptual depth is required to write the answer, how much you should be knowing. It should not that you get into this ocean of knowledge and trying to find out that how can I write a good answer. So this deconstruction is going to tell you that how much conceptual depth is required to write a good answer. Assessment of the required content coverage. So how much you need to cover. So by deconstruction of PYQs, you are going to understand that to what extent I supposed to get into this content and whether this content is relevant or not. So the content you are referring, the books, notes, whatever you have been referring, that is required, or I'm aligning my preparation with this thing. Then various dimension which supposed to explore. What are those dimension which you must understand so that when they are going to frame the questions for the next year, you should be having control over that okay, I know that from which themes they can ask. So this is going to help you to understand the you know the repetition of themes which happens over the period of time. Deciphering the exact demand of the questions. If you understand that how we are deconstructing the question, you are going to find out that what exactly examiner want to ask. Then pattern of the themes which is going to get repeated, and this is going to be give you the strategic advantage for your preparation. And the next is exploring the scope of current affairs linked in the given topics. So these are things we should be keeping in our mind while exploring the PYQ. Now coming to the point. So the first question we are going to discuss, that is the main factors that have contributed to the gradual transformation of world from billiard ball to cobweb model. Now understand this thing. What we supposed to know in this particular question. So this approach is not about that you must get the answer of these questions. As I discussed, the discussion is going to revolve around that what we supposed to know while we are exploring our PYQs. What is our orientation? Orientation is to know that what exactly examiner want to know from us. So the first thing is that we should be knowing about what is billiard ball model and how it has been transferring into cobweb model. Okay, so this is the essence of this thing, and which model belongs to which theory. So billiard ball model belongs to the realist approach and cobweb model belongs to the idealist approach. You should be knowing this thing. So what is the theoretical explanation of these models? Both of the models, they are having different theories. You should be knowing this particular thing. So when you are going to approach idealistic approach to study international relations, you should be knowing that okay, this is the billiard board model which is reflecting the idealist approach and how we are moving towards cobweb model. So this clarity is required from you. So when you are learning from any teacher, if they are bringing these dimensions in their explanation, which means that you are on the right track. Then what is cobweb model? Which approach of IR prescribe it? That is the liberal approach. What are the signs which shows that there has been gradual transformation of world from billiard ball model to cobweb model? So there are development, there are events which reflect that now state is now the world politics is not about like state having prominent position in world politics. So when we are talking about billiard ball model, that is a model where states are prominent actors and they are in constant struggle with each other. So there is constant friction between the state. This is the essence of billiard ball model. But now this is not the case. So there are certain developments and events taking place which reflect that world politics is turning into cobweb model, where there are several actors, not only state, there are transnational actors, there are multinational corporations, there are international NGOs. So these are various actors which are playing very, very, very important role in world politics. So those are the development you're supposed to mention there. Then what are the factors, main factors which contributes to this transformation? So we cannot just remain in the situation of conflict where the actors, they are just consumed by their self interest. So we need certain actors which play the role, constructive role. There should be certain kind of dialogues taking place, and these reflect certain kind of neutrality. These organizations, transnational actors, and transnational multinational corporations, so they reflect certain kind of uh, relations among themselves, and which are beyond the national interest of the billiard ball models actors. So this is you supposed to know. What are the limitations of cobweb model? So whenever we are going to explore the limitations of any particular approach, we are going to tell that this approach, if we are exploring the limitation of billiard ball model, we are going to tell that cobweb model is superior. If we are going to explore cobweb model limitations, we are going to tell that there are certain things which cannot be ignored in billiard ball model. So interrelated limitation we need to reflect upon. What are the limitations of billiard ball model which give space to the cobweb model? So again, its significance is going to become the limitation of cobweb model. Cobweb model significance is going to become the limitations for billiard ball model. That you need to keep in your mind. What are the contemporary developments which reflects the significance of these models? Suppose there are a certain development taking place which, see, if we show that conflicts happening around the world, conflict of Ukraine Russia, conflict of Israel and Palestine, conflict of Iran being attacked by USA and Israel, conflict of Cambodia and Thailand. So there are various conflicts going on. So this reflects that states are having constant struggle among themselves. So these development reflect that. So we need to keep these developments taking place and relate with these developments. Is complex interdependence related to the cobweb model? Definitely, it is related to that as well. Whereas several actors are being involved in interrelations. Now, the questions which came in 2020, that is very essential question. See, how we predict that there can be questions from idealist approach. We see then that in which years question have been asked from this particular approach. So in 2020 questions being asked, then in 2024, and then in 2025 neoliberalism and neorealism questions was being asked. So we can have certain kind of assessment of the trend which have been uh, witnessing in these topics. For example, in system theory, they haven't asked questions since 2016. So there are probability that that question can be asked in 2026. So this is how we predict the questions. Anyway, in this question, what are the core assumptions of idealism as an approach to study international relations? So we should be knowing that what are the core assumptions, what are the assumptions which makes it foundational for idealist approach. Whenever we are going to prescribe something, whenever we are going to look at the international relations happening, international development taking place, so idealists, they have certain assumptions. Understand one thing, that every single theory, they have their assumptions. They base their arguments on the basis of those assumptions. That is why they are being called positivist approaches. They are not compromising on those areas. Fine. So there are certain assumptions aligned or attached with every single approach. What is the significance of idealist approach? So this question, we can tell, we can find out that it can be asked. And see, whenever any question is being framed, we supposed to make it multi-dimensional. even if they are asking about the limitation, we supposed to tell the significance of that particular approach. That makes our answer multidimensional. So here in this question, even though they are just asking about the uh, assumptions of idealism, we are going to tell the significance of idealist approach. And now the second dimension of this question is explain its continuing relevance in peace building. So the first thing is this idealist approach itself is reflecting that there are always what we call prevailing international morality, and on the basis of that we can achieve peace and harmony in world politics. So it has been challenged every now and then, but now in contemporary times we have to find out that what are those challenges which reflect that we can overcome those challenges and we can still maintain peace and harmony in the international politics. So in this context we have to see the contemporary relevance. If it has been questioned by certain developments, we have to find out that still it is important, still it holds the significance in international politics. So this is the significance of this. How does it builds peace and international politics? Okay, so see, these are the questions which you should ponder upon, which you should know, so that it gives you the kind of leverage, it gives you the kind of orientation, the clarity that how you're supposed to frame your arguments and give them and write them in a what we call more logical sequence. That makes your answer more powerful when you write your arguments in a proper sequence. So come to this point. What are the limitations of idealist approach? Again, when we are exploring the assumptions, we can tell that there are certain limitations of this approach, and in that we can tell about the what realists think about the international relations and world politics, and we can also link certain contemporary developments. The next question, explain the various facets of the idealist approach to study international relations. Comment on its contemporary relevance. Same question, the same things. Fine. When they're asking about the assumptions, here one thing you need to understand. This is some kind of, you supposed to write certain kind of characteristics of idealist approach. Here the question is very specific about core assumptions. So there are several other strands of idealism. You can say liberalism, neoliberalism, then democratic peace theory, sociological liberalism, interdependence liberalism. So these are various kind of liberalism. And what are those core assumptions, the core arguments they always integrate in their analysis? You're supposed to write that in the core assumptions. You can write that here while you are exploring the various facets, various dimensions, then also you can use those things. So here you can reflect, but again just focus on the idealist approach. You should not go beyond that. Fine, you cannot write neo-realist prescriptions in this particular point. We have to just constrain our arguments with respect to the idealist approach. Here liberal institutionalism, Woodrow Wilson's, we can mention this is what you're supposed to learn. So defining characteristics of idealist approach, you're supposed to write what are the examples which substantiate its continuous relevance in international politics. This is the same questions. The part B of this question is exactly being asked in this particular question. So a repetition of themes, we can say that. What are the challenges to the idealist approach, idealist prescriptions for contemporary issues? So this we can say the limitation of idealist approach, we can say with the help of this. Next question is neoliberalism lightened the neo-realism dark view of international politics. Okay, now and this particular question was I read in the Bryles and Smith, it was being given there. So this is how they frame the question. They read something and they find out and they link with the contemporary developments, and then they frame the questions. So neoliberalism lightened the neo-realism dark view of international politics. So we should be knowing about the key assumptions of neoliberalism as well as neo-realism. So what are their key assumptions? So you will find out that certain ideas of realism was being accepted by neoliberalism. So there is one particular meeting point. So when they are talking about, when we say that dark view of international politics, so they accept that there is anarchy prevailing. Okay, and in that anarchy, states are just going to ensure their national interest by self-help. So it is always conflicting. There is always tussle going on between the states. But now neoliberalism accept it, that okay, we understand that there is anarchy in the international politics, but again, it doesn't mean that there is going to be the situation of conflict. There are the chances we can create the avenues for cooperation. So it is the dark view of neorealism which is being lightened by neoliberalism view. Did I say neorealism or neoliberalism? Here the dark view is taken by neorealism, which was lightened by neoliberalism prescriptions. What are the similarities between the neoliberalism and neorealism? So this is also being called neo debate. Here they are accepting that yes, that's in international politics there is anarchy, there is no regulating force. So that is why we are facing the conflicts, but we can explore the avenues of cooperation. This is what neoliberalism prescribes. How does neoliberalism lightens the neorealism dark view of international politics? What are the examples of this? This is what is supposed to write, that see, we accept that there are international anarchy and the system is anarchical in nature. They are accepting it, but again we can explore the avenues of cooperation by interdependence, by trade. That is what neoliberalism says, that we can create those avenues, we can create the avenues for interdependence. So this is what the complex interdependence is all about. This is what about the creating interdependence through certain institutions, certain regimes. So this is the essence of this particular topic. So understand, my dear friends, the essence is this: you supposed to explore all the dimensions in given the particular questions. You should have this clarity, and whenever you are going to engage with any kind of your foundation course, your coaching, whether you are doing self-study, you should be knowing these dimensions, these concepts, these interconnections. That is required. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. See you in the next lecture.